Friends, well, here we are, lesson 17. Now today we're going to do two things. We're going to carry on with our note learning, and we're going to have a look at the chords in a new key, which will be the key of D. Now this course is supposed to be followed sequentially, one lesson at a time, and if you miss out on a lesson, then you sometimes miss out on foundational stuff from the lesson before. So if you've just jumped in now, I can tell you that we looked at all the chords in the key of C in lesson 6, and then in the last lesson, which I believe was 17, we looked at all the chords in the key of G. So in order to understand how this works, in lesson 5 we looked at how to play a chord cleanly. This is a very important lesson. And in lesson 8, and to some extent in a little bit in 9 as well, we looked at how to change chords. Again, that's very important that you understand that. And in lesson 7, we looked at the notes on the bass string. And this is important for being able to work out where all the different notes are. We looked at E, F, G, A, B, C, D, and E again up the bass string. If you haven't seen any of those things, then really you need to look at those first if you're going to understand what we talk about in this lesson. Now lesson 16, we looked at where all the A notes were all over the fretboard, and in lesson 17 we looked at where all the C notes were. So today we're going to have a look at, what is it? I believe it's the E notes. Yes, the E notes today. So let's get a close-up and have a look at that. Okay, so as I said, lesson 7 was stage 1 of note learning, where we learned the notes up the bass string, and we learned that E to F was 1 step, to G, end of our musical alphabet, we start again at A, that's 2 steps, B's 2 steps, B to C is just 1 step, 2 steps to D, and 2 steps to E. I've gone through that very fast. I can't spend a lot of time each video going through that. Have a look at it in lesson 7 if you didn't understand. And in lesson 16 we went on to stage 2 of note learning, which is figuring out where the notes were on all the strings. So today we're going to look at the notes of E. Now if you remember, we're not allowed to play the open string, and we're not allowed to play beyond the 12th fret. The 12th fret is the same as the open note. Again, we've been through this in the past. So that's an E, and this is also an E. Elephants and donkeys grow big ears. Remember what the strings are called when they played open. E, A, D, G, B and E. So an E at the 12th fret. On the 5th string, we've got to figure out where E is. You can count it up if you want. A, B, 1 to C, 2 to D, and it's the 7th fret. On the D string, that's fairly easy because D, E is the next letter of the alphabet, so it's 2 steps from D to E, so it's 2nd fret. Now the 3rd string is the G string, and it's a little bit far to count all the way up the string, but if we notice, we know that this is G on the bass string and this is E. So G down 1 step, 2 steps, 3 steps gives you an E. So we know the open string, 3rd string is G, the 12th fret is also G. So 3 steps down, it's the 9th fret, and that's an E. On the 2nd string, B, C, 1 to C, remember, 2 to D, 2 to E, which is the same as the open top string. It's 5th fret, and the top string is the same as the bass string, E, all the way up to the 12th fret. So this is not like memorizing a poem or something. This is muscle memory, programming it into your brain. So you go up the notes, when you get to the top you go back down again, you play it and say it. So E, then 2nd string, E, third string E, fourth string E, fifth string E, and bass string E. So that's where E is on all 6 strings, and we go all the way up and back down 3 times, up and down again 3 times, playing it and saying it. If you can do that, then it's going to start to program itself into your brain. And by all means, go back over your A notes and your C notes that we did in the last couple of lessons, but add this E note. We're going to do all 7 naturals, the A, B, C, D, E, F and G. We're not going to talk about the sharps and flats at the moment. We're just going to learn those notes. This is going to be invaluable. It's going to empower you as a musician. It's going to set you free. It's going to be vital when we look at a bit of music theory. And again, that's all important to becoming your own musician and not just slavishly copying everyone else. So these are the chords in the key of D, minus the diminished chord, of course, as usual. They're laid out the same way as the key of C was in lesson 6 and the key of G in the last lesson 17. We'll have a close look at them shortly. You might like to make a copy of this. But I want to just say that with these 3 keys that we've learned, the C, G and D, and with the use of a capo, anywhere from 1st to 4th fret, you can actually play in any key. So we're going to stick with these 3 keys, and this is going to cover most of what you need. When we come to looking at a bit of rock and blues and things, we'll need key of A and key of E, but for the majority of songs and ballads, these 3 keys will be enough. So learn these chords and really you'll have access to any song you want. So the root chord in this key is D, obviously, and it's just a little triangle on the top 3 strings. The 4th string, the D string, is played open. That's your bass note. And I made a bit of mess with the question mark. Sorry about that, but that's a question mark over the A string. So try to avoid it. But don't worry, if you do hit it, it's not totally out of tune. But do avoid the bass string. That's what the cross means. And I would just say, if this is confusing to you, then you need to check out lesson 5. It shows you what all the numbers and little symbols mean, how to read a chord window. If you've just jumped into the course at this point, it's a bit naughty. Go back there and you'll see what we're talking about, what this diagram means. Okay, so this is what it looks like. Our first finger goes on the 3rd string at the 2nd fret. Our middle finger goes on the top string at the 2nd fret, and then the ring finger goes in between on the 2nd string at the 3rd fret. So you get that little triangle. We play 4 strings. We could actually play 5 if we wanted. It's kind of D over A. Lovely chord. So the next chord is an A7 chord. It's a dominant chord in the key, normally played as a 7th, can be played as an A, which we'll look at later on. The finger positions are just marked with dots because it depends which chord you're changing from, which 2 fingers you'd use. Normally 1st and middle finger, or middle and ring finger. 3 of the strings are played open, and the bass string is a question mark. You try to avoid it if you can, but don't worry if you do hit it. It's an open E note, and there are already 2 E's. You can say there, 2nd fret of the 4th string and the open top string in the chord of A7. So let's see what that looks like on the fingerboard. 1st finger goes on the 4th string at the 2nd fret. Middle finger goes on the 2nd string at the 2nd fret. Or you could use middle finger and ring finger on those same frets. All depends where you're coming from, going to, as we said. Play 5 strings. That takes us back to the D. Now the G chord we already know. It was the root chord in the key of G, which was in the last lesson 17. So you could check that out if you need any more information. I'll show you it quickly just now. But it's always going to be the case that when you learn a new key, you'll already know 3 chords in that key of the 6 from the previous key. The same chords appear, but in different positions, as it were, in different keys. So it's not too much to learn. Learn a new key, you don't have to learn 6 chords, you only have to learn 3. So again, just quickly, first finger goes on the 5th string, the 2nd fret, middle finger goes on the bass string at the 3rd fret, and then a big stretch across to the top string with your ring finger still at the 3rd fret. Get those fingers up close behind the frets, remember all 6 strings. Now, the B minor chord, again, we had a B minor in the last key, in the key of G, but we just played it with 3 fingers. They were in the positions where the 1, 2 and 4 appear now, but we used fingers 1, 2 and 3. This time we're adding our little finger, and we're also fretting the 4th string at the 4th fret. So this is really an A minor. If you look where that 2, 3, 4 shape is, where those fingers are, it's just an A minor shape that's gone up 2 frets, and then we've added our first finger at the 2nd fret of the 1st string. Now this is the second way to play B minor. We're going to look at several ways to play it. There's at least 4 very common ways of playing it, and they're getting more and more difficult each time. So this is a little bit more challenging than the one we looked at in the key of G. However, it goes very well with the last chord that we're going to look at in this key, the F sharp minor. So learn it in that shape. A lot of people use that shape all the time. Having a bit of trouble with reflections today. It's a sunny day outside, so I hope you can see this okay. So basically what we're doing is, if you remember your A minor chord, which looked like this, that occurred in the key of C as a very important minor, and it was also in the key of G as an occasional minor. So all we're doing is sliding that up. It's A, B flat, B minor, so we're sliding it up 2 frets. But we're going to swap our fingers round so that we use these 3 fingers to play that A minor shape. Leave our 4th finger free, because we're going to need that to hold down the 1st string, which doesn't come with us. It's an open string, so it's not going to go with the chord. So now we've got this shape, 1st finger, 2nd fret of the 1st string, 3rd fret of the 2nd string, and stretch across with these 2. Don't forget to get your ring finger above your little finger, and then we've got that A minor shape, and then we can play all the strings that we're fretting. We can't play the bass 2 strings really, and not in tune with the chord. And there's an E minor, again, which fingers you use depends which chord you're coming from. But this E minor was in the key of C, and it was the relative minor, very important minor in the key of G, so you already know this chord. So we either put our 1st finger on the 2nd fret of the 5th string, and it has to slide back a little bit from the ideal position to make room for the middle finger on the 2nd fret of the 4th string. Or you can use those 2 fingers, depends which chord you're changing from. But those 2 strings at the 2nd fret, all 6 strings, it's an E minor, so we want our E bass note. Big dramatic chord. So finally we have an F sharp minor. Now it's a little bit unusual. We have a bar with our 1st finger across the top 3 strings at the 2nd fret, and then we reach out with our ring finger and our little finger onto the 5th and 4th strings, both at the 4th fret. Now the middle finger is not doing anything, it's just waving about in the air basically, and for the time being we won't play the bass string, although there is a way of playing that with your thumb later on. Again, this F sharp minor would be a full bar chord right across all 6 strings, so this is an easy way of playing it. And it's a very useful chord because it slides up and down and becomes any minor, F, F sharp, G, A flat, A, B flat, B, and so on. by sliding it up and down the fretboard. So it's really important to learn. It's not that difficult. And sometimes in the key of D you'll get a change between the two chords, F sharp minor and the B minor, the way we've played it here. And it's a very easy change if you use these chord shapes. So we'll have a look at that just now. Okay, so we're talking about using this first finger to bar across all 3 strings at the 2nd fret. You might find it useful to either grip the neck, give it a good firm handshake to be able to press down on that chord, or you might want to drop your hand down and use your thumb. If whatever's comfortable, mess around with it until you find what's comfortable to get that held down nicely. We miss a fret and go up to the 4th fret, stretch out with the ring finger and tuck the little finger underneath on the 4th and 5th strings at the 4th fret. So now we've got our 5 strings. So we've got an F sharp minor. Now if we slide that down, it would be an F minor, an F sharp minor, a G minor, an A flat minor, a complicated way of playing an A minor, a B flat minor, another way of playing a B minor. Very useful chord. It's movable because there's no open strings. We're fretting them all, so they all come with us as we slide up and down. Very important shape to learn. Now you will find that when you're working out songs in the key of D, there will be an A chord, or A major, to give it its proper name, rather than an A7 chord. So we're going to have a look at that just now, and we aren't going to do the keys of A and E, as I said before, for a little while. So let's look at this A major chord, and then you've got everything you need to play in the 3 main keys. And as I said before, using your capo, you can access any key from key of C, key of G and key of D chords. It's only 12 chords altogether, and you pretty much got any song you want. Okay, well the diagram is a bit misleading really, because you can't get your fingers straight across in a straight line. They don't fit. So on that 4th string you've got to slide your finger back miles away from the 2nd fret, which isn't ideal, but that's to fit your middle finger in on the 3rd string and then your ring finger in on the 2nd string. So it's a bit of a finger squasher. And just play the 5 strings. If you catch the 6th one, doesn't really matter. There are a couple of E's in this chord anyway, so. But ideally that 5th string is your bass note. It's an A. And there are other ways to play it, which you'll find online. There's that people play it this way around. Sometimes when I'm playing electric and I want to concentrate a bit more on the bass strings to get a rhythm, whatever, I'm just lie my finger across these strings, but lift it up a little bit so the top string doesn't ring out, because you don't want to be fretting that at the 2nd fret. You want that to play open. But for now, I would suggest you just try bunching up your 3 fingers on the 2nd fret of the 4th, 3rd and 2nd string. Play the 5 strings, and that's your A chord, and it goes very well with the D, the G, the A, and back to D again. Now once you're confident with the actual chord shapes, you need to start practicing all the possible changes in this key, and there was some very good advice about changing chords back in lesson 8, and there's a little bit in lesson 9 too. So if you haven't seen that, then do go and check that out, because it's very important to practice this changing in the right way if you're going to build muscle memory. If you have seen all that, then very good, you can carry on with these changes, but they're not all the possible changes, because some of them have already been covered. For example, we can see there's no practicing G to E minor. We did that in the last key. So any changes we practiced in the key of C, any changes we practiced in the key of G, presumably we already know those. So these are all the ones that we won't have practiced with the new chords that we've been learning today. So let's just have a quick look at a couple of those changes. Again, we're going to follow the rules for changing that were in lesson 8. You need to check that out if you haven't seen that already. And so we've got our D chord, our little triangle here. And what we want to do is move to our A7 chord, which is, we could use those two fingers, but that involves a big change of your hand. So better to say all we need to do is move these two fingers from the third and the top string across onto the fourth and the second string. So it's very easy. They're there for the D chord and they're there for the A7 chord. This finger goes down on the D chord and it's lifted up when we get to the A7 chord, and it's put back down to go back down to the D chord. And if you can see that, figure it out for yourself. So we've got the D chord, move those two fingers across, lose that one. That two fingers back, that finger back down, and move those two fingers back again. Of course, we want to do this all in one movement eventually. We're doing it as two movements so that our fingers don't lose contact with the fretboard, keeping that finger in contact with the fingerboard until those two have moved, and then losing it. Then keeping these two in contact while we put that finger back down and move across, so on. And then you practice that back and forward with your eyes closed. That's how to build muscle memory. Don't look over there, close your eyes, and you become a blind man and start feeling your way across the strings. Okay, now you remember I said there was a quick change we could do in this key between the B minor shape that we just learned, the new one, and the F sharp minor. And for the B minor, we kept our first finger on the second fret of the top string, and then we had that A minor shape, the other fingers played the four. So that was our B minor. And then for the F sharp minor, we barred everything at the second fret, or the top three strings anyway, and hopped these two fingers across like this. And that's our F sharp minor shape. Now, for the purpose of B minor this time, I'm just going to keep this bar here because it makes it a lot easier than having to change. And it doesn't matter because you were still fretting the second, third and fourth strings higher up than where the bar is. So that's just really barring, that's just really the first string that's been affected by this finger. So now we have our B minor. And then all we do is hop these two fingers across one string, flying in formation from 4 and 3 onto 5 and 4, and lose that middle finger. And then we've got our F sharp minor. Then we put that finger back down again and hop those two fingers back. And there we have our B minor. So we want to practice that back and forward with our eyes closed. And then that'll begin to program itself into your muscle memory. Great little change. I'll leave you to work the rest out by yourself. It's a bit boring otherwise. But follow the rules that we learned in lesson 8 about how to change chords. Okay, so now once you've got all those chords sorted out, you need to go back to lesson 15, I believe it was. Yeah, lesson 15 tells you how to get songs and work them out for yourself. Now, we go on Ultimate Guitar, if you remember. It's a good place to get them from. And hopefully you're going to use either a laptop or a PC, because then you have a little transpose button at the bottom. And so you can just change the key that you're playing in. You wanted the chords to be in the key of C, key of G or key of D, obviously, and to suit your voice. So, I mean, key of G is down here, key of C is up here, key of D is up here. It's a lot higher, then back to G again. So you need to experiment, put it in one of those particular keys, put your capo on, raise it up. You'll never need to go beyond the 4th fret because you'll be in the next key again. Probably don't understand that at the moment, but you will once we do music theory. But basically, just put it in a key you can play in and one that suits your voice. You need to experiment. Now, if you're on a phone or an iPad, something like that, I think you have to use their app. I don't know. I don't use that. I use a laptop. But you can certainly transpose there's a little button there, puts it in any key that you want it to be in. And obviously some of them are in sharps and flat keys, B flat, C sharp, keys that are very difficult to play in. So you just change it into one that you know and is familiar with, and one that suits your voice. Okay, so that's it for now. Thanks for watching. Don't forget, if you've got any questions about all that, get in touch, especially finding particular songs. Leave me a comment, and I'll get back to you and try and help out on a one-to-one basis. Okay, thanks for watching, guys. Bye for now. Take care.